Here we are with another top 5 for Reader's Digest 5 Scariest Stories Ever Brought In. I've selected 5 of the Digest's most vivid first-hand experiences of the paranormal. Listen and then ask, do you believe? Now, number 5. The Little Hands, written by Shannon Taggart. I've never lived in a haunted house, but my mother did as a teen. Other houses on her street had strange things going on too. A few homes away from her lived a man and his family. One night, one of his daughters went to bed with a bad headache. The next day, she was dead. She passed away with an aneurysm. After the funeral, the family went away to get their minds off the tragedy, and the father asked my uncle, my mom's brother, to check on their pets. My mom and dad, they were dating then, went with my uncle. My mother had heard there was a grand piano and she wanted to play it, and my dad was studying to be a veterinarian. After entering the house, my uncle and my father headed to the basement to see the animals, and my mother went to the piano on the ground floor. She was playing it when she felt something brush her ankles. She thought a cat must have left the basement and walked past her. She kept playing, and she felt it again. She looked under the piano and saw nothing. When she started again, she felt hands clasp her legs and grab them tightly. She dashed to the basement door, called my uncle and father, and waited for them. When they all walked outside, my uncle could tell my mom was rattled and asked what was wrong. She told him what had happened, and he turned white. He told her the daughter who died used to play a game with her father. When he'd play the piano, she'd crawl underneath, grab his ankles, and push his feet up and down on the pedals. Now, do you believe yet? Has Shannon Taggart enticed you? How about that piano? Is that piano haunted? We'll just find out. Let's check with story number 4. The Unseen Patient by Deep Blue For You. The ambulance company that I used to work for had a haunted ambulance, Rig 12. A lot of EMTs has stories about it, but I never put much stock in the paranormal stuff. That is, until I had my own experience with Rig 12. My partner and I were working in a rural community at 3 a.m., and it was pitch dark and completely quiet. We were both dozing. I was in the driver's seat, and she was in the passenger seat. I woke up to a muffled voice, and I thought my partner was talking. I told her I was trying to sleep and closed my eyes. I distinctly heard a male voice say, "Oh my God, am I dying?" followed by a few seconds of heavy breathing. My partner and I sat up straight and looked back into the patient compartment where it sounded like the voice had come from. Things were quiet for a couple seconds, then we heard a click on the oxygen bottle regulator and a hiss, as if it was leaking. I turned on the lights and we ran out of the rig. I thought a transient might have climbed in while we were asleep, so we opened the rear doors. No one was there. I checked the oxygen bottles. Neither was opened. We didn't sleep much after that. So in my opinion, that rig was haunted. All the old rigs, all those dead bodies, all those years. Who have been in the back? Let's go with number 3. The Impish Ghost by Cactus Soup. My neighbor Diana and I had a playful poltergeist for years, and we called it Billy. I'd come home and find something put in a weird place. Milk in a cupboard, toilet paper in the fridge, laundry detergent in the bathtub. Diane once called to ask if Billy had been around because she couldn't find a gallon of milk. We finally found it outside on her back steps. And sugar, darn sugar, every morning my sugar bowl was empty. When I had enough, I'd point to Diana's home and yell, "Go see Diana." Within 5 minutes, I'd get a call from her. She'd say, "Thanks a lot," because he'd gone and pulled shenanigans at her place. This occurred for the entire 2 years we lived there. No one believed us, not even our husbands. My mother thought someone was stealing from us when we were sleeping or out of the house. My sister believed something was going on, but didn't know what. I still can't explain any of it. Now, do you think they were being haunted? Or do you think that somebody was stealing from them? Was there a criminal breaking in? Or was there a ghost moving around their sugar and their milk and playing games? Maybe it was a child. Maybe it was a criminal. With all these technologies, we still don't know. Number 2, The Eerie Attic by Eric Ogden. It seems so cliched by starting by saying, I don't believe in ghosts. But, however, that's what I'm saying. A few years ago, I moved into a one-bedroom apartment in Melbourne, Australia. It was the first time living on my own. The apartment block had been built in the 1930s. I'd been there for a few months, and when I came home from work one day and went into the bathroom, I saw something strange. The wooden board covering a hole in the ceiling that led to a small attic space lay broken in 2 pieces on the ground. I examined the broken pieces. The board was an inch thick. It would have taken Bruce Lee to break it. I thought the landlord had sent someone to work on the attic. I was frozen stiff with fear. I thought somebody is up there for sure. I emailed pictures to the landlord asking if anyone had been up there. Her reply was, please call me as soon as you're able to. I called. She explained the last 2 tenants had said the same thing. She had promised to replace the board, and she did. A month later, I woke up one night around 4 a.m. I had so many goosebumps. It felt like somebody was rubbing his or her hands all over me. Everything was silent. Then I heard the sound coming from above my bed. It was a dragging sound, like somebody pulling a sack of potatoes. I was frozen stiff with fear, I thought. Somebody is up there for sure. There is no animal can make that sound. After 5 minutes, I managed to work up the courage to turn the light on and walk to the bathroom. I was armed with a cricket bat. When I looked, I saw the new board covering the hole was broken in 2. I felt sick. A dragging said stopped, but I heard something else whispering. The sound was clear and coming from the attic. It sounded like children's voices. It's your turn, it's your turn. I switched on every light in the apartment to make things feel more normal. It was 5 a.m. and dark outside. I watched TV to try to unwind, and then a fuse blew. My pet budgie Dexter, whom I kept in the kitchen, usually never made a sound at night, but he started squawking like he was being strangled. Never heard him make those sorts of sounds before. I grabbed my car keys, ran out, sat in my car, and waited there until the sun came up. When I saw people walking their dogs, it was comforting me enough to back in. The front door was open, but I thought I hadn't closed it when I run out. I went to the kitchen to check on Dexter, and he wasn't in his cage. I felt sick again. All my windows were closed, so I looked everywhere inside, walked to the bathroom. Dexter was half drowned in the toilet. I took him out, washed him, dried him. I was so confused. 8 a.m., I called the landlord to give her a watered-down version of the night. Oh wow, you heard the whispering too, she said. I lived there for 18 more months and left. The landlord still calls me now, telling me about the new tenants. Number 1. One night when I was 10, The Boy with No Eyes by Rodchenko. I was woken up by my bedroom door opening, followed by somebody sitting on my bed. I felt my leg grazed and bed sink under a person's weight. Thinking it was my mom, I opened my eyes to see an eyeless boy. He had empty black sockets, about my age, sitting on the foot of my bed. He extended his hand and in a little box. I was startled, but reaching out, he pulled back. I reached again and he said, "Give it." Then I blinked, and then I reopened my eyes and he was gone. But the imprint of somebody sitting in my bed was present. Fast forward 5 years, my girlfriend came over to do homework. After she finished, she took up a nap while waiting for her parents. When they arrived, I tried waking her up. She opened her eyes suddenly, looked up at the corner where a wall met the ceiling. She pointed there and went back to sleep. I shook her again. She came full consciousness, and I explained what she'd done. She said, "Up on the wall, I saw a little boy with no eyes. He was there in a Spider-Man pose, staring at me." I freaked out and told her my story about the same kid. Fast forward another 5 years. I was in the same girlfriend and we had a 2-year-old. We're living in my parents' house in my old room. My daughter started waking up at the same time every night and she'd talk. After a while, I noticed she had almost the same conversation every night. I playfully asked her once whom she was talking to. She said, "It's a little boy. He's nice. He's lost and looking for his mommy." My daughter's nightly conversations continued until we got our own place later that year. Now, do you believe in demons taking over children? I do. They're out there. If you want more of these stories, please like and subscribe. I'll have plenty more to come. I love these spooky stories, and they're fun to talk about. So please enjoy. Any better things I can do?